For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting October 7th, 2013. Call the order, please.
Eiler.
Here.
Nielsen.
Here.
Noah.
Here.
Sexton.
Here.
Walagora.
Here. We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes from a regular session October 7th, 2013. Any changes or issues? Any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Your Honor, we need to add an item under new business of 13A for an ambulance fund transfer discussion.
Second.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Walagora.
Yes.
Eiler.
Yes. Thank you.
The mayor just said yes.
I said yes, yeah, I was writing, so it's funny that you picked up on that. You conformed me. I'd like to ask if you'll allow me to introduce an extra announcement at this evening's meeting, only because it just happened to pop up on my desk. It's a benefit. Our police department and fire department are playing a hockey game I'd like to announce before our next meeting, so I'd like to announce that if someone could. So please.
Yep, I'll make that motion that we have that announcement.
That would be C under announcements.
C.
Second.
Thank you. Oh, vote please.
Noah.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye.
Eiler.
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Okay. This is all squared away. Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. If you do, please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Adamus, and I reside at 165 State Street in the city of Alpena. I appear before you this evening on behalf of the Jesse Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan, where I serve as a member of the Board of Trustees. I have forgotten to put on my reading glasses. I knew I was nervous, but I can't read very well. Okay, I apologize. An item on the council's consent agenda for tonight reveals for the first time in public a very special, one-of-a-kind program that the Jesse Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan has been developing and will soon be presenting to our community. My purpose tonight is to announce and describe this program for the council, and especially for members of the media present tonight, to thank the city staff for reviewing and supporting our plans, and to thank the council for formally endorsing them. I'd like to throw out a special thank you for Karen, who was very receptive and very timely in her responses to me. Thank you, Karen. The mission statement of the Jesse Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan includes the promise to collect, preserve, and interpret historical artifacts and information concerning 15 counties in Northeast Michigan. Through programs and exhibits, it promotes understanding and appreciation of the past and present. This coming November 19th, 2013, marks the sesquicentennial of President Abraham Lincoln's delivery of the Gettysburg Address. The museum saw in this anniversary, by celebrating it and helping the greater constituency of the museum celebrate together, that we will seize a unique opportunity to meet the terms of its primary mission in a very compelling, exciting, and unique manner. A special satellite exhibit entitled Lincoln's Legacy, the Gettysburg Address Sesquicentennial, will be presented by the Jesse Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan for 4 days, Monday through Thursday, this coming November 18th through the 21st. This exhibit will be housed at the First Congregational United Church of Christ of Alpena, located at 2nd and Lockwood in downtown Alpena. Hours of the exhibit will be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and admission is free to the public. The exhibit will feature displays of Civil War artifacts currently held in the general collection of the museum, most all donated by local citizens throughout the years. If I can diverge from my script for a moment and just explain that anytime you get a sesquicentennial of any event historically, you're already through 4 generations. So the people that were connected to relics and artifacts have now since long died off, and people are inheriting family objects that don't have an emotional connection to them. All across the country during the sesquicentennial period of the Civil War, which is right now, museums are seeing an influx of a lot of local Civil War artifacts to museums, such as weaponry, medals, uniforms, and such. So it's a very exciting time. And we're looking forward to other sesquicentennials happening very soon, like the surrender at the Appomattox Courthouse, and of course Lincoln's assassination. That's to come. In addition, the reason why it's a satellite display is we don't have room at the museum because of our Seasons of Light exhibit, so we're using the Congregational Church. Once we decided to go downtown, then we started brainstorming about any way we can help the town celebrate this sesquicentennial. So here it comes. In addition to the artifacts display, scholarly lectures will be presented at 7 p.m. at the same location on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday, Don Lando will present Alpena Men at Gettysburg. Tuesdays, I will present You Are There, the Gettysburg Address. And on Wednesday, Olin Joynton from ACC will present The Philosophy of Abraham Lincoln. At this time, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to announce that the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln himself, has accepted a time-traveling invitation to visit our fair city of Alpena on the precise hour of his Gettysburg Address sesquicentennial. Yes, President Lincoln, you heard right, is coming to Alpena, complete with stovepipe hat, beard, and he's 6'5", by the way. Oh, it gets better, doesn't it, Matt?
It does.
Yes. We have arranged for Matt Wallagora, our mayor, and our director at the museum, Chris Watulski, to escort Mr. Lincoln on horseback through downtown. The DDA and the Chamber of Commerce have teamed with us, and they are now partnership in this parade to welcome Lincoln to Alpena. I dare say nobody else in the country is going to do something like this. This is a very unique experience that we're going to hold. There is a service at Gettysburg on that day, but I don't know of any place else in the nation that's going to do this. I will be talking with the people at the Alpena News to see if we can get the wire services, whether it be UPI or AP, to send this thing viral, and maybe, just maybe, we can get a picture of our mayor, Lincoln, and our museum director on the front pages, maybe all around Michigan, if not the nation. There's a chance. They will come down 2nd Avenue through the downtown district. The Alpena, the DDA, and the Chamber of Commerce are teaming with us to create a festive and patriotic welcoming of President Lincoln. We've got some ideas of, like, for instance, if you walk into a store that day and can recite the first 7 words of the Gettysburg Address. Anybody? 10% off your purchase. 7 years ago. So that's not official, but that's one of the ideas we have. So just so you know, we're gonna try to make this fun. If you wear a Confederate flag and put it in a window of the store, you get 10% added on. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so that's the idea. At Culligan Square, President Lincoln will deliver the Gettysburg Address in the open air for all to hear. There will be no microphone because that's not the way it was 150 years ago. So, and it's a go whether, no matter what the weather, just like at Gettysburg that day. So I thank you for listening to that, and I'm here to answer any questions or accept any comments from the council or audience, anything?
You didn't say precisely who's riding the horse. There's one horse?
There's 3 horses. Lincoln will be in the middle.
Horses.
Lincoln will be in the middle, and depending on Matt's political persuasion, he will either be on the left or the right. Chris does not identify herself as Republican or Democrat, so she'll pick the side he doesn't. So 3 horses, Lincoln in the middle, the mayor and the director on either side. And they'll, we're working on other plans for maybe a little music ceremony, some things to happen before he actually gets to speak. So
that was 1 o'clock?
that's 1 p.m., leaving the post office parking lot, coming down Second Avenue. So he would probably dehorse, if that's the proper term, near 1:30 on horse.
Dismount.
I'm a city boy. He will dismount, I'm sure, sometime before 1:30, and the speech will go right at 1:30. And everyone is, of course, warmly invited to that. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, announcements this evening. A is, again, our Halloween hours, 5:30 to 7:30 on Thursday, October 31st. B is the deadline to vote. Absentee ballot is Monday, November 4th, 2013 at 4 p.m. And C, the announcement I added, I thought it was pretty particular because our police and firemen partake in an annual hockey game to benefit charity. This year it continues the theme of Pigs in Heat, 11th annual. Proceeds benefit the Children's Advocacy Center of Northeast Michigan. The game is November 2nd at the Northern Lights Arena. And tickets are a donation only.
What time?
Oh, and the time is from 6 to 8 p.m. Thank you. On the consent agenda this evening, A is bills to be allowed in the amount of $352,541.32. B is approval to recognize Northeast Michigan Center for Fine Arts Incorporated as a charitable organization for the purpose of obtaining a license to conduct raffles. And C is the approval of request by Besser Museum for Northeast Michigan to hold a sesquicentennial celebration of the Gettysburg Address on November 19th, 2013.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Do not have a proclamation or a public hearing this evening. We have a report of officers, the treasurer's financial report for July 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2013.
There's not too much to report. We're 25% through the budget for the fiscal year. Our revenue's at 50%, so we're ahead of where we should be. Our expenditures are 25% or 24%, so we're a little bit under our expenditures in the general fund. The ones that we're watching, as I've mentioned before, is the water and sewer. We need to build up our equity again so we can get some capital projects done, so that's what we'll kind of focus on right now.
Any major surprises, disappointments?
There's not, we're thrilled that we got a couple grants, that we'd hoped to get. Actually, we've just had a little bit, that's the good news we've had. Haven't run into too many unexpected expenses, so.
Receive and file.
Yes, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Walagora,
Aye.
Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
All right, bids this evening. Start with the Beach Motel asbestos abatement.
On September 27, 2013, Outlaw Mobby PC issued a request for bids to 7 certified asbestos abatement firms. A mandatory pre-bid meeting was held on October 3rd at the Beach Motel with 4 of the firms in attendance. Bids were received from the 4 firms on October 10th, 2010 at 3 p.m. and opened in the offices of Baldwin Lobby. Results of the bids received are attached to the packet. It is my recommendation as city building official that the project be awarded to Mid-States Asbestos Removal for the as-bid cost of $59.50. They were the low bidders. Funding for this project will come from the Brownfield Site Remediation Fund as previously approved by council, and the contract was reviewed by the city attorney as to being in the proper form.
I maybe know this, but who's Otwell Lobby?
They're our environmental consultant that, with our EPA grant, and they work with us on our brownfield. They're the ones that prepared the brownfield plan to allow us to use the remediation fund for the asbestos removal and the demolition of the motel.
They're the ones basically that they identified the asbestos, the lead paint, the cadmium, all the objectionable materials to get them removed before, because we're going to still have a demolition bid in another council meeting to take the building. But this is just to get all the objectionable stuff out.
And they did the phase 1 environmental report on the property as well.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Don, just to help me out here. The performance bond, I noticed on the lowest bid that they didn't have anything under the performance bond at all.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit about what that is, and is it just like it sounds? And
Well, it's exactly what it is. It's a certain amount of money that's put out there to guarantee their performance. In other words, they are going to do what they say they're going to do. When you have bids of higher dollar amounts, it becomes more critical. And just the fact that they say they're not charging for a performance bond in their bid packet, which I don't know if I gave that to you or not, they did show a letter from a performance bond or an insurance company saying that they would be happy to provide them. So the other 3 bidders, you know, $200, $300, whatever, they were charging for that performance bond. In Mid-States, if the city would decide that they wanted them to have that, wouldn't charge for it. But it's not a huge project, I guess.
Why is there such a disparity in the amounts? There's a big difference in 6,000 and
I know that's a big
13,000.
I have no idea. Somebody wanted the job more than somebody else. Somebody assumed something was there. I mean, I don't know. But, you know, on straightforward demolition projects, and I'm thinking back to when we took the lake hotel down, the Lakeside Motel, I mean, just down now as part of the park. And, you know, the low bid, we got that removed for around $11,000. But we had bids that were as high as $29,000, $33,000 for the same building. I mean, that's just, here's how big it is, here's how much junk there is, here's how much time it's gonna take us to knock it down. So it's hard to say why there's such a spread in bids. Sometimes they're real close together and sometimes they're just not. But Mavi, who has dealt with these people before, they also agree that they should be allowed to do it for that price. So they felt comfortable with that. They're the real asbestos professionals.
Thank you.
I just have a comment, if I may. Last week when we were bidding, and I wanted to explain this to the council. I got a lot of questions on why I voted no on the last bid that we had last week, and I believe that was on the windows for the bridge. One of the things that this bid looks different to me, just because we've got multiple bidders, and the reason that I voted no was because we only had one bid. Typically what I've seen since I've been here just a short while is that normally when Rich estimates a project, we usually come in anywhere from 25 to 40% less than the estimate, and I understand that he wants some cushion. The reason that it was a no is because this one came in about 15% less, and to me it just didn't make sense. You know, and I think that, you know, until we get more information or have a baseline to go from, to me the one bid is something that I think we should take a look at in the future and maybe kick back for more bids, in my opinion, just so we get a good actual cost of a project by having multiple bidders. So I just thought that you all deserve a reason of why I voted no last week. So
appreciate that. And everyone's comfortable. Got any more questions for Don on this particular? Thank you.
I move we approve the recommendation of Mr. Gilmet that we award the asbestos abatement contract, mid-state asbestos removal for the stated price of $5,950.
Second.
Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye. We have a public safety facility roof.
On September 24th, 2013, the City of Alpena received statements of qualifications from various consultants regarding providing services to evaluate the overall condition of the roof of the public safety facility and provide corrective action steps to eliminate the leakage and ice damage we've encountered over the past several years. The city received 3 statements of qualifications, one from SIDOC Architects out of Gaylord, Michigan, testing engineers and consultants out of Troy, Michigan, and Meridian Contracting out of Alpena, Michigan. And one thing, when we do the qualification-based selection process, it's a little bit different than our normal bid process. Typically, when we go through the qualification-based selection process, the entities will submit their qualifications, we evaluate them. And actually, on September 24th, we actually received 3 different, or set qualifications for 3 different activities. Those other 2 will be following up here in future council meetings. We select what we feel is is the most qualified firm to perform the work that we are asking them to do. And then we negotiate a contract with that entity. If we can't negotiate a successful contract, one we don't feel comfortable with, then we have the right to go to the next most qualified entity that we feel and try to solicit a price from them or negotiate a contract with them. So it's a little bit different than just bidding it out. While the document from Meridian Contracting was more of a proposal than a statement of qualifications, the review team of Greg Sundin, City Manager, Joel Jett, Police Chief, and Steve Schultz, Assistant City Engineer, felt it had merit and was reviewed along with the other statements of qualifications received. The city would have typically requested a price quote from whichever firm we felt most qualified. Thus, the proposal from Meridian Contracting basically proceeded to that step in their submittal. Upon review of the documents received by the above referenced team, we felt that the documents submitted by Meridian Contracting and SIDOC Architects were the better submittals. After detailed discussion and evaluating the pros and cons of the documents, it was determined that the city should pursue this project with Meridian Contracting. This decision was based on the following. Meridian Contracting is a local company with presence in Alpena. Meridian Contracting has extensive experience in evaluating and correcting these types of issues. If we have future problems, we can have near immediate response and corrective action. And the proposal received from Meridian Contracting addressed the issues and concerns identified with the facility that were outlined in the RFQ. The proposal from Meridian Contracting outlined the service they are proposing to perform and the cost associated with these services. For $6,000, Meridian Contracting will provide the following. Basically, they will survey the roof. They will evaluate the roof, both from the inside, the outside, and look at the roof-to-wall connections. That appears right now to be where our biggest leakage issue is where the water may be damming up and leaking back through that common joint between the wall and the roof. And they have extensive experience in dealing with those very issues. They've done a number of projects on the airbase resolving this exact same issue. They will collect information on various snow management systems and gutter melt systems and present it to the city for review. That is where we have our biggest issue. We've repaired, replaced, finally taken off the gutters on the outside of that building because of the snow and ice buildup that when it gets temperature differential, whatever, gets built up enough, it slides off the roof, takes the gutters out. What they will look at is a roof snow system that will keep that from sliding off and taking out those gutters. And then they will distribute the original construction drawings to the manufacturers selected and assist in obtaining manufacturer's design recommendations for each of the systems. One thing I want to make clear, this is not to perform the corrective action. This is simply to assist the city to evaluate what the problem is, how best to correct it, and then develop a system to correct it. We will, once we're at that stage, then we will have to bid it out for the actual work to be performed. Additionally, I had follow-up conversations with Todd Britton from Meridian Contracting regarding what he expected as part of the roof, or what we expected as part of the roof investigation. I indicated that as part of the evaluation, he will need to inspect all areas of the underside of the roof from inside the building and all wall-to-roof connections. He agreed that this was to be done as part of the overall evaluation of the roof system. It is my recommendation as city engineer that city council authorize a contract with Meridian Contracting to perform the first services for the as-stated $6,000. If we need to go beyond that with additional services, we can bring the matter back to city council as needed for authorization. Funding for these services will be paid for out of the Public Safety Construction Fund.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that we're basically, so this is basically signing into a contract. They're going to act as a consultant for the city to help us understand the best system to put on the roof.
Correct.
And I guess my question then is, when we hire a consultant like this, does that automatically exclude them from any of the bidding process to do the actual repair work on the facility? I mean, are they excluded, like, because they are actually hired as a consultant, or are they able to bid to do the work themselves as well?
They would be able to bid, because it's a different, we're going into a different phase of it. You know, basically, they're going to help us and assist us in getting the specifications ready. The city will then bid it out. They would have an opportunity like any other contractor to bid on that, because they're not going to be part of or integral to that bid process. We'll be taking care of that. Now, if they were bidding it out, yeah, then they would have to be excluded.
It just occurred to me, kind of a side subject, but the company that put the roof on the public service facility, is that the same company that put the original roof on Thunder Bay Junior High School?
No.
I do not know that.
No, it's not.
I've always had an issue with that roof. And I'm sure it's clear at this point that, I don't recall the year that was built, but there is we've exhausted any recourse in the original design of that building.
The building was completed in it was under construction, I think late 92 and in 93 was when a lot of the construction was finished up on the facility. So we're looking 20 years ago.
20 years, yeah.
And the roof, you know, and that's in my discussions with Todd. You know, a steel roof has a very extensive life. You know, it's what it is, it's the penetrations through the roof, or it's that roof-to-wall joint where you typically have problems. Roof penetrations like for stacks, piping, et cetera, if those need to be sealed up, those can easily be sealed up. The metal roof typically doesn't wear out in 20 years. But anything, you put a caulk or a sealant around a pipe penetration, it's going to dry out.
Right.
And that may be some of it. At least that's what we want them to evaluate.
All set.
I approve. I don't approve any. I move that we award the contract to Meridian Construction.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Tyler?
Yes.
Rich, your stuff here. There must be something else. No communications, unfinished business. Resolution number 2013-13, a resolution authorizing addendum to contract with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Dredging Fund.
Basically what this is, the original contract that was issued between the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and the city of Alpena did not specify a dollar amount in the agreement. Basically, what they wanted us to do was go through the bid process and then fill out, and I believe I attached it, it's called the addendum form, Waterways Emergency Dredging Grant Addendum Information, which outlines our dredge and material disposal costs, our engineering costs, and then any other reimbursable project expenses. And we discussed all those and went through them with MD&Q staff, or MD&R staff. Basically, what this addendum now does is establish that contract amount at $567,000, which is what we feel is going to be the total price, including our expenses, to have the marina dredging completed. You know, we were allotted up to, I believe, $805,000 for the project, but we were able to get through the competitive bid process, get that down, so we're finishing up at $567,000. Now, when I wrote this memo, we did not have the original addendum. They had sent an addendum to us where they had, the addendum was for $24,500. They'd grabbed the dredged volume number and inserted it into the addendum contract, which is a little bit less than the $567,000 that it's going to cost us. So we did notify them of that, and then late Thursday afternoon, we did get the correct addendum, which is attached in the council packet for the 567. But the memo reads differently because we did not have it at that time. So it's my recommendation as city engineer that city council approve the agreement amendment as outlined above and pass resolution 2013-13. This will be executed was received, so it can be executed tonight, and we will submit it to the MD&R. Once submitted, the city can request 25% of those funds up front to cover costs incurred, and then beyond that, it will all be reimbursable. And actually, I think tonight in the bills, there was a bill payment for $51,000 for mobilization for our dredging contractor, and that was the first invoice we received from them. So.
Interesting how that works, but.
I move we pass resolution number 2013-13A.
Second.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Okay.
Eiler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay, and B is the second reading of ordinance 13-425, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of 523, 525, and 603 South State Avenue and 241 East Campbell Street from R2, one-family residential, to CCD Commercial Corridor District.
Consistent with city policy, I will not read this again unless specifically requested to do so. Simply need to vote yea or nay.
I approve we move.
I approve we move?
I move, whatever I'm supposed to do. I move we approve ordinance number 13-425.
Second.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Eiler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And new business, we have a discussion for on the ambulance fund. I did want to point out to council in the event that you did not see Karen's email late today. Basically just, she sent us a council policy statement for adding items to the agenda, just so everyone understands that if something is added to the agenda, it falls under certain criteria as far as what we can and can't do. I won't read the whole thing, but it basically says if we added anything to the agenda as we did this evening for the ambulance, action permitted on added addenda items. We can either have no action and discussion only. We can refer to staff for a study and report back to council. We can schedule added item as an action item for a future council meeting, or we can act on an added item if all council members are present, which we are, and all council members agree that the immediate action on the item would be in the best interest of the city. So with that said, if Rob will come up,
Rob is here for, and I apologize for not knowing your grade, is here for Chief Forbush to explain what we've got going on with the ambulance.
Good evening, everybody. Lieutenant Rob Edmonds, Alpena City Fire Department. Obviously, I'm here on behalf of Chief Forbush. He's not here. He's away in Massachusetts, I think, on department business. So what I'll do is I'll read a little bit of his memo that he had sent, I believe, to everybody, just so everybody's clear on it, and then I'll add to it and answer any questions that I'm able to. Earlier this week, our MICU ambulance, which is the one that the city purchased, was involved in an accident while transporting a critically ill patient from Alpena to Saginaw. It was after midnight. It was raining and foggy on US 23 north of Standish when a 6-point buck darted out in front of the ambulance and was struck, causing significant damage to the vehicle. As everybody knows, that's a really high deer-rich environment. The driver did everything he could to avoid hitting the deer. I believe we've been doing long-distance transfers now for about 2 or 3 years. This is the first accident I think we've had with our rig, so we've avoided them many, many times. So this was kind of a unavoidable thing for us. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Our critical care paramedics were caring for the patient on a ventilator and several medications at the time, but were able to continue care without interruption, while another ambulance from Standish responded to assist. The patient and our equipment and crew were transferred into the other ambulance, and transport continued without incident. The MICU unit was brought back to Alpena by Georgia's Towing and is awaiting an insurance adjuster before it can be repaired locally. I believe the insurance adjuster is supposed to be here tomorrow, I believe. Estimated damage is about $6,000 or thereabouts. So quite a bit of damage to the front of the vehicle. So, meanwhile, our requests for emergency long-distance transfers are on the rise and frequently occur more than one at a time. There's been several times, I know just yesterday, we actually turned away a long-distance ALS transfer because we only have the one rig that we're able to do the transfers. So the patient either had to stay here locally until they could get somebody today, or they just kept them in-house today. We're not exactly sure how they actually completed the transfer. So, but we did not do it. We only did one at a time. So, our local transfers are holding steady with several each day. Of the 5 ambulances that we operate, a minimum of 3 must be immediately available for 911 responses, with a 4th in reserve. Our MICU is the only city-owned unit and is used primarily for emergency long-distance transfers, although it's also used for emergency service as needed. If one of our units are down, we're unable to provide both local and long-distance transfer service simultaneously, nor are we able to accommodate 2 simultaneous long-distance emergency transfer requests. Currently, what we do is if we have BLS transfers in town or out of town, we actually send those over to Alpena Township Fire Department, so they actually will handle a lot of our BLS transfers in town if we're unable to, because we have, like I said, only 1 transfer at a time are we allowed to do. So. Clearly, an additional unit is needed to help ensure that we have adequate resources to handle all needs while units undergo preventative maintenance or repairs. In situations like this one, repairs can take a while. They're telling us right now it's going to be at least 2 weeks before they even get the thing back on the road again. So we're at least 2 weeks before we can provide that level of care again. Obviously, if we have any further breakdowns, it could actually hurt our operation even more. So that's really what the chief's concern is with this. So what he's requesting is to add another ambulance to our fleet. In doing so, we found another ambulance that actually was ours. It's a 1991 Ford ambulance that's out at Sanborn Fire Department, and they're trying to sell it currently. They bought a brand new one, so they're just trying to get their money out of the one that they currently have that was ours. I think we gave it up probably about 10 years ago, pretty close. Doug Rosnowski, who's our city DPW mechanic, he's very familiar with the ambulance. When he was employed at Francis Service, he worked on that ambulance several times. So mechanically, he says the vehicle is in good shape. I know they did go through and they did some transmission work, rebuilt the transmission. So mechanically, it's sound. He feels he's very confident that this will be a purchase. It's not just a short-term fix. It's something we would use basically to keep in our fleet for long-term to handle in-town transfers, that type of stuff. So. And obviously be well suited for our local transfer service to do BLS transfers back and forth to the hospital and things like that. Because of the urgent timeline, Chief is asking Council to consider the request as rapidly as possible. He's requesting approval to purchase the vehicle from Sanborn Township for a negotiated amount no greater than $4,500, using a portion of the capital funds in the fire budget intended for Jaws of Life replacement. He said that we've been notified that we're in final stages of consideration for a grant that will help greatly with the Jaws purchase, and he's confident we'll be able to meet both needs this budget year. Further, he states that revenues for this year are up considerably over what he had budgeted. So he's hoping at some point to be able to transfer funds from that source later in the budget year. He did do some research, basically looking to see what he could find for other used ambulances. The problem is they start about $10,000 or more. And the problem is some of the people that he's talked to said that mechanically they wouldn't recommend them. So they're getting rid of them because they're at the end of their life. So.
Do we have an idea of this vehicle being a backup vehicle, how often it would be used, or how long you feel that the shelf life of this vehicle has?
I believe in discussion with the chief, his intent is to, if we were to be allowed to purchase it, it would give us a 6th ambulance. His intent would be to use it, obviously right now to get us through this period until B Alpha 5 gets back in service, but then after that he would like to use it in town to use it for short trip transfers. Basically take some of the wear and tear off our newer ambulances.
When I spoke with the chief Friday, I asked him the question in terms of how long he was looking at this for the last, and he was looking at around 4 to 5 years that he would like to get out of this. So if we did that, it would be well worth the investment. I was concerned that make sure that we weren't buying something that within a year or two we were going to have to turn around and either invest a lot of money in it or buy a replacement vehicle. But from what his talk with Doug and with those with the Sanborn people down in the township, that he was very confident, felt confident that we could get 4 to 5 years out of it.
And if we make the decision to purchase today, how soon could this be put into service?
Probably within a week.
Yeah.
We have all the equipment for it now.
Okay.
And what we would do, I believe what the chief's intention would be to do is to license it BLS as a basic transport service,
Yeah.
but have ALS equipment on it should we have to activate it actually as an ALS unit. And we have that equipment in-house. There's a few things we'd have to buy, but probably could have it totally in service within a week. So the big thing is to have the state come and inspect it. So, but we can do, I believe we can do an emergency activation of the apparatus. So you put it in service and they'll come inspect it, at their convenience whenever they're available. So they do a lot of that kind of stuff, I believe, in emergency situations. Yep.
The other thing I did ask the chief was, as far as what vehicle would be used for the long distance.
Mm-hmm.
And it would not be this vehicle, but one of the other ones that the county, that we get from the county. And I believe he did, or was in the process, when I talked to him, I asked him to contact the county to make sure they had no issue with that. It would only be for the interim until our vehicle is repaired. I don't believe that's going to be any issue either, just on a short-term basis.
Correct, and that is his other reason for trying to add a 6th vehicle at this time, because with us down to 4 right now. With the county ambulance contract, we have to guarantee to the county that we have 3 ALS ambulances ready to go out the door for emergency calls. That's why we're only allowed to take 1 long-distance transfer, BLS or ALS, for the simple fact of trying to keep 3 ambulances in service at all times to fulfill that contract with the county.
How frequently do you need more than one?
It's getting to be more and more frequent. I can tell you that within the last probably 2 weeks, I know of at least 3 times that we've had 2 ALS transfers. Well, not BLS, because what we do with our BLS long-distance transfers, we give those over to Alpena Township. Basically, we take all the advanced calls and the critical care calls, basically the really sick patients that need what we specialize in. So the basic transfers we've been given to Alpena Township to keep us more available for those sicker patients. And I believe at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So it's getting to be more and more frequent. The hospital's using our service more and more. They're getting more confident in our abilities, not only with regular ALS patients, but with our critical patients. And actually on this call here, this lady here was on, I believe, 3 different medications, and she was on a ventilator, paralyzed and intubated, and sedated purposefully. So it was all because of the transport, so.
Right.
I hope you'll pass our appreciation along to the chief and to you for the preparation and professionalism. I don't recall since Bill has been the fire chief, he's ever brought a problem to this body without having researched a solution to that problem. And you kind of go the extra mile for somebody
Right.
to do
And
that.
like we said, we've kind of prepared ourselves for it, because like, I think we've been doing long distance transfers for at least 3 years, I'm thinking, and we've never had an accident that's essentially handcuffed us to what we can take, can't take. So this is a first time for us, so.
How fast are you going typically when this accident would have been?
In this case, we were doing about 70. I won't lie to you, this was a very sick patient and
Right.
needed to get to Saginaw
Sure.
extremely
Sure.
fast. So, and there really wasn't anything the driver could do. The driver didn't even have time to take their foot off the accelerator or swerve, that's how quickly it happened, so.
That's what everybody who hits a deer said.
Very good. And I don't know if, I don't know where we're at here as far as having to convince anybody, but one of our biggest goals in the past year or so in the fire department's goals and Bill's goal is to raise the confidence level that we have at the hospital in order to secure more transports. And as Sam said, Bill does his homework, Chief does his homework before he brings anything to council, although we did have some pretty good questions. I think it's well worth the investment. It's not something that's just going to be a Band-Aid for right now. It can be
I can
used.
tell you our call volume is up significantly. I know before we started doing the ALS transfers, we were doing about 3,000 calls a year, and we're going to be well over 5,000. Well over. So.
That's not the news we want to hear.
No, but, you know,
But we want you to be ready as well.
And the nice part is that with our availability, it's a necessary thing, and we're able to fulfill the needs of the community by having the ALS service, and that's really what the hospital's leaning on us the most with, is the ALS availability with the sick patients. When we transport somebody, it's because they can't airlift them, either by helicopter or fixed wing. So we're kind of like the last ditch effort to get somebody out of here. They prefer to send a lot of people by air, but just due to our demographics up here, sometimes there's just no way that they're going to fly because of the weather and whatnot. So we're it.
I mean, you don't have any other issues?
I was just, this will be an additional vehicle. Do we have room to store this additional vehicle indoors?
We do actually, and we actually checked that out in the public safety storage building right next door. We have room to put that in there as well.
Okay, the old Print Plus building
The old
there?
Print Plus.
Okay.
Yep.
If we ever get that agreement to work out at the, on M32 West, then we have an extra ambulance we need to put out there.
That could be an option too, yes.
So you need a motion?
Yeah, basically, what, to approve the fund transfer?
Yes.
Right, now which fund this comes?
From fire
The
capital to
fund.
ambulance capital?
Yep.
4,500?
I move that we allow him to move the capital funds, a portion of the capital funds over that would have been appropriated for Jaws of Life and replace the ambulance, purchase a used ambulance.
I would happily second.
Walagora?
Aye.
Eiler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for standing in.
I move we adjourn.
You are watching All About Alpena.